£5,000 or $6,500 of passive dividend income growing every year. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Today, we're going to have a look at exactly how I achieved that a couple of years back, how I hit that milestone, what stocks I owned at the time, how much I was paying in each month, and the double-digit growth of my combined investments for that year. Now, I've been investing in stocks for over 15 years. I started actually my first payments into a company pension scheme 20 years ago with my old employer. That was a very small amount, about £20 to £30 a month. And that first year, I think I accrued about £1,200. That's how I started exactly 20 years ago. So I've been doing it for about 20 years. I've been properly investing, which I started about 15 years ago, and I made lots of mistakes. But even with all those mistakes, for about the first 7 years or so, maybe even the first 10 years, I still managed to accrue over £300,000 or $400,000 to this day. And if I can do it, so can you. Let's get into it, see how I did it. Welcome to Destination Wealth. So why dividend stocks? Well, I never used to invest in many dividend stocks. I started off by chasing penny stocks, buying things here and there. Didn't really know what I was doing. And then as the years have gone past and I've learned from reading books by investors like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Naked Trader, people like that, dividends have really struck a chord with me. And I just love the fact that whenever I buy a dividend stock, twice, sometimes 4 times a year, they pay me for owning that stock. And generally, if it's a good company, they might pay more times. They might pay a special dividend. And every year, that tends to increase. They increase those dividends. Some years they don't. Throughout certain years, like 2019-20, for obvious reasons, a lot of them cut their dividends. But the good companies that kept going then increased them, and they just keep snowballing year after year after that. So when I get paid those dividends, I just reinvest them back into the same stocks that paid them to me. So the next year, I have more stock, pays me more dividends. I then buy more stock again. It just snowballs and snowballs. So those dividends and my ownership of that company just gets bigger and bigger and bigger without me actually reinvesting any of my own money. Now, I do reinvest more of my own money every month into the ISA and the SIPP that I own. I don't always buy new stocks or reinvest into those stocks with fresh money every month. I tend to let it accrue so I can buy bigger chunks. But I'm still buying generally the same stocks. Sometimes I'll add something new, but more often than not, I'm buying those same big blue chip stocks like Games Workshop, Greggs, B&M, companies like that. Basically, I'm getting paid for simply owning those stocks. Don't need to work for it. Don't need to do any more research. Well, I do a little bit more research just to check those stocks are still good. I just sit back and let the money work for me. Anyone can do this. Now, I personally invest in individual stocks. I have over 20 of them, probably over 25 now. But you can do this by just investing in the FTSE 100 or FTSE 100 tracker, FTSE 100 ETF, the S&P 500. You just buy the indexes. If you don't want to do the research, but you're really interested in growing your wealth and really growing them by snowballing those dividends, just buy indexes or ETFs and you'll do just fine. However, if you are interested in buying individual stocks and investing in those, you need to do your research. You can't just buy them willy-nilly. I did when I started and I made a lot of mistakes. I still do make some mistakes, but I made some big ones and lost quite a bit of money at the beginning. So you've got to do your research, and I'll have future videos on exactly how I do that research. By investing in individual stock, you really have the potential of hitting a home run and bringing in maybe a 10-bagger. A stock that grows 10 times your initial investment. So today we're going to look at my SIPP again and my stocks and shares ISA over a 1-year period. But stick around until the end because that's when I'll reveal my whole investment portfolios grouped together. My SIPP, my stocks and shares ISA, my crypto that I own, and my company pension to see what my group wealth is. Not my net worth, just my invested wealth. So back in 2021, I hit that £250,000 milestone, and we'll have a look to see how much further on we are at the end of 2022. Before we go any further though, I'd just like to remind you that this is not investment advice. I'm just a personal investor. This is how I've done it in the past. It's just my own personal story. If you don't know anything about stocks, don't go throwing your money into stocks. Just buy the indexes, ETFs, the FTSE 100, the S&P 500. But do seek out professional advice from an authorized financial advisor. As I say, this is not stock investment advice. Don't follow what I'm doing blindly. Do your own research. I invest in individual stocks, but it takes quite a lot of research, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. But as I say, you don't need to do that. You'll do just fine investing in the indexes. Right, let's jump in and have a look at my dividend income history from 2012, when I first started receiving them, right up until 2021, and how much they paid me over that 10-year period. In 2012, I received a paltry £135 in dividends, but it was a start. Is what I got paid for the whole year, but by the end of 2021, you can see that this had ballooned to £3,156 for that whole year in completely passive dividend income. That was an increase over that 10-year period of 2,237%, and it was a total monetary amount of £13,755 that I received in dividends from the stocks and the ETFs that I owned. Now, all of that money I reinvested back into the stocks that paid them, which increased my holdings essentially for free. Now, this was the dividends just from my SIPP, my self-invested personal pension. But if I add in the dividends that I received from my SIPP and my ISA, my stocks and shares ISA, the 10-year increases look like this. From the first year up to 10 years later, you can see here the monthly average I was receiving in passive dividend income. Nice growth from £11 per month in 2012 to £323 per month on average in 2021. Let's now have a look at the first year that I surpassed £5,000, $6,000 in passive dividend income. The year was 2022. I'll show you the individual accounts first, so my stocks and shares ISA separately from my SIPP, and then I'll show you the combined amounts. This is the monthly payments received in my stocks and shares ISA for the year. Payments in every month, the largest being in June at £248.80, and the lowest in November of £39. And here are the monthly payments I received in my Hargreaves Lansdown SIPP, my self-invested personal pension, for the whole year. Payments again in every month, and a superb month of payments in February, topping out at £809.87. And it was getting close to that £1,000 monthly milestone. The next chart you can see here is the combined payments, the combined dividend payments of my SIPP and my ISA together. The largest being February at £863.22. So from January through to December, I received dividends in every month. Some months were tiny payments, whereas others were fantastic and far more than I'd received in any other year prior to that. I was really happy to have reached a point where I was getting paid something passively every single month, reinvesting those dividends, giving me more and more stock. And therefore, the following year, more and more dividends. Looking at these dividends, you're probably wondering how much money I actually had invested in both of those accounts, in the ISA and the SIPP, to give me those sort of dividends each month and each year throughout that year of 2022. In my ISA, we'll look at first, I had a total invested amount of £54,599. And in my SIPP, I had a total of £172,099. So combined, we had £226,698. Now the combined Total dividend income for that year was $5,108, which was the equivalent of $425.70 a month. Now, my monthly contributions in that year of 2022, I invested £13,276 of my own money spread into those two accounts. The increase in dividends over 2021 was 32%. So the amount I received back in dividends for that whole year was 32% more than 2021. Companies were starting to reinstate their dividends after many years of them cutting them and some removing them completely around 2020, 2021 for obvious reasons. The stocks that I owned spread across those two accounts were in the following companies: Apple, Diploma, Shell, B&M, Begbie's Trainer, Ecora, TriFast, Ashtead, Disney, Watkin Jones, Marshalls, Games Workshop, a Spider Dividend ETF, Avon Technologies, Discover IE, IdeaGen, Watkin Jones, VFEM ETF, Greggs, Iamart, and XP Power. Now, I still own most of those stocks today. Some of them I don't, and I've added a few new ones. I'll look at that in the following video, where we look at how much dividend payments I earned in 2023. Here you can see the stocks that I owned in the SIPP and the dividends and how they paid me throughout that year. Most of them paid twice a year. Some, like Shell, pay dividends 4 times a year, but you can see how regularly they come in. On this next screen, I'll show you one of those dividend payments that was reinvested, the fees I was charged for reinvesting it. By reinvesting through the DRIP program, which is just dividend reinvestment plan, most brokers have that option. Fees are very low. What I've shown you so far is only part of the story though. What I'm going to show you next, all my portfolios combined. So that's my SIPP, my ISA, my company pension, and a small amount of crypto I have with Coinbase. I'm going to look at the value increases over a 12-year period from 2011 to 2022. Here's the performance of all my investments over that 12-year period, 2011 to 2022. So my SIPP, my Friends Provident Company pension, my ISA, and a small amount of crypto. In 2011, my total savings were £29,653, and that grew up to £267,000 in 2022. You can see there that 2017 was a great year. I invested a total of £12,486 of my own hard-earned cash, and I had a 27% increase in growth. And that was excluding that £12,486 of contributions. So £20,000 was just the increases of the dividends and the capital appreciation for the year. It took me 7 years to reach that all-important £100,000 milestone from the £29,000 back in 2011. But then it only took me another 4 years to hit just shy of £250,000 in 2022. My average growth rate from 2017 through 2019 was a nice steady rate of 15% per year, excluding contributions. That was just capital appreciation, the stock price increases, and the dividend income. It flatlined between 2019 and 2020 due to various macroeconomic reasons. But then I had a massive jump in 2021 of 40%, excluding my own contributions again. That was a monetary gain of £67,000 in just 1 year. From when I started investing right up to 2022, I had an average compounding gain of 14% a year. That's not including any contributions that I've made in that time. I couldn't believe it was possible to get so much growth and profit in just 1 year, especially as I was still kind of learning and making lots of mistakes. Now this year, 2024, I hit another milestone, and that was reaching over £1,000, $1,300 in completely passive dividend income in just 1 month. I've hit it a couple of times since, but if you want to see how I did that and the stocks I owned, check out this video next.